jetzt der nächste Motor.
Genau, ich bin immer am Wechseln. Hey everybody, I'm Robert. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Nürburgring, and I think we should welcome back the GR Yaris. As I went through the gates, the marshal gave me a hard time and basically said, oh, now we're on to the next motor. So he was obviously giving me a hard time for my missed shift. There's several of you guys that are here. There's Misha and George in the Polestar. A lot of you guys are here because of my missed shift, have found the channel through my problem with with the Yaris here, what I've done with it. And it feels like we've done a time warp here on the channel. I know that, and I am sorry. So I do owe you guys an apology. In fact, it's Toyota's fault that we didn't show you the complete rebuild process. And honestly, I'm just as surprised as you guys were. I was out of town the other day and I looked at my WhatsApp and I had a picture of the motor back in the Yaris, and they said we're going to test drive this tomorrow. So it was obviously bittersweet when your car gets done 2 weeks sooner than you think it will, but you realize that you weren't going to get to shoot the videos that you had hoped of rebuilding the car, putting everything back together. So I do apologize. I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't even in town when they test drove it, and I came to the Nürburgring today for the first time and got back behind the wheel. So here we are in the Yaris. It's running phenomenal. As you can see, it's got power, good grip, beautiful track conditions. You might not realize that today is Car Friday, which is usually one of the biggest days at the Nürburgring. Due to the coronavirus, they've put a ton of police officers around the track, closed it all off, and made it to where you can only drive, and that's kept a lot of people from coming in the first place and really slowed down a lot of the traffic on track. So why don't we talk a little bit about what was done, what was replaced. It was as predicted or as scheduled in the teardown video that we did in the dealership. They had expected to replace all of the rocker arms. That was a precautionary item. And we replaced the intake cam. And then obviously a lot of bolts and hardware and head bolts, head gaskets, timing cover gaskets and things of that nature were all replaced, obviously. Valve cover gaskets. So those were all replaced. And we didn't have to do anything with the piston. That checked out quite well. So we didn't have to do anything there, and we didn't have to do anything with the rods or the bearings or anything like that. So that was very lucky. We've got a yellow here. All right, so we had a car coming up pretty hot and a yellow in a braking zone. So that's always one thing where you want to work on your balance and be as smooth as you can, because had I jammed on the brakes there, we would have went into a rotation, and that's not good. So you always want to be as smooth as you can applying the brakes and steering when you come into a situation like that, because that's one of the few places, I don't want to say one of the few places, but it's one of the big places that you don't want to be on the brakes hard, loading up the front, lightening the back to where it can come around. But yeah, so intake cam, we went ahead and did every single rocker arm just as a precaution, and then obviously valve springs and things of that nature were just done as on the number 1 cylinder as mandatory. And that was really all that we had to do. I got off very, very light. I got off very lucky in that regard. I don't know what the bill is going to be for the damage yet. They obviously let us pick up the car, and they're putting together their costs and everything now, and they'll send over the bill probably in the next week, I would say. When that does happen, I will be certain to share that with you guys so that you can see what I paid or what my damage was. We got a couple fast MR Porsches that are going to want to get by, so we'll let them through. Maybe give them a listen here. Very nice. One more. Let's let one more through. That's some good sounding stuff right there. One more. Let's let him through. Let's hear it. Now, for a long time, and to this day, I'll still tell you that there's so many Porsches on the track that it kind of dilutes the prestige of it a little bit. But man, do they sound good. I think that they challenge the speciale in terms of cars that I've had. A good sounding GT3 RS is an amazing car, and I really do think that GT3 RS sounds better than a speciale, in my opinion. Something very interesting. Is our front camera shutting off? I don't know, we'll see, huh? So we always go slow through here. You guys will remember the last lap that I did in this car was on a flatbed going through here, the last lap I did with you guys. Oh, the Kia Stinger, he's on it now. So, what else has changed to the Yaris? That's quite interesting. Harnesses, seats, a cage. We did all of that immediately when I found out that the car was going to be back. We got a hold of the guys at Manthey Racing, the guys down at Stalis who build our cages, and we said, hey, the Yaris, we're going to pick it up on Monday. Is there any way to have all this installed and approved by TÜV by the weekend? And sure enough, they came through. We've got the cage in, we've got the harnesses in, we've got the Recaro seats in with the lower seating position. As you can see, I've got plenty of headroom, so a helmet's going to be no problem now, and I'm very pleased by that. Manthey has a solution for the TÜV, so everything is in the car's papers. So that to me was a huge step forward in this car in terms of performance and usability. Very, very happy about that. Another really cool thing that you're hearing is that with all of the interior out of the car, we've taken out a ton of insulation to get the cage in. It sounds phenomenal. It sounds a lot like the Cupra does. Basically, you're hearing a high volume of air traveling through the exhaust. And all of a sudden, the Yaris sounds good from inside. We'll just take a minute to enjoy the sound of the car and a beautiful empty track as we go up Hohe Acht at the Nürburgring. Well guys, it's great to be back in the Yaris. So much fun. What a special car. I can't wait to do maybe another 20-30 laps in this where I really get used to it and get familiar with it, I think it's going to be probably one of my favorite cars to drive in the wet. We've got some tires that we have set up for the wet for this, and I think it's really going to be special. But yeah, glad you guys have followed through the journey of going from A to Z, or at least A to, we'll say, X so far, with the misshift and the rebuild process. Let me know what you want to, what you'd like to know about the rebuild, since I didn't get to follow along with it and share that with you guys. Let me know if anything, I can clarify anything. If anything was missed, what we'll do is we'll sit down and we'll show you all the parts that came out. So we do have all of those. And yeah, we'll also, we talked about maybe making some key rings and different things like that out of the rocker arms. So you can count on all that happening. But yeah, at the moment, I'm just happy to be back on the Nürburgring and back in the Yaris. It really is a special car. I spoke about from the first time I drove it how much fun it was and how pleasant it was to drive. And sometimes you get frustrated when you break something and you lose interest in it, but I stayed as positive as I could and went through the whole process, and I'm just all smiles now. So welcome back, GR Yaris. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll catch you later.